Welcome in, everyone. Get ready for a deep dive into Psycho-Cybernetics. We're cracking open Maxwell Maltz's book today. It's amazing, really gets you thinking about how much our self-image shapes our lives.
It's fascinating. Maltz wasn't just some armchair philosopher. He was a plastic surgeon. So he actually saw these wild personality changes in patients after facial surgery.
Yeah, that's what got me hooked too. I mean, you'd think, oh, just the looks changing, right?
Right. But he realized it was way deeper. Their whole self-image was transforming, alongside their new face.
It was like a mental makeover almost.
Exactly. Like a blueprint was being rewritten.
Yeah.
Shy patients, suddenly outgoing, folks who were considered dull, becoming super sharp and engaged. And the only thing that had really changed was how they saw themselves.
So, okay, how do we actually use this self-image idea to actually make changes in our lives?
Well, that's where Maltz brings in this idea of the success mechanism. He borrows from cybernetics, saying our brains work a lot like, goal-oriented machines, always adjusting what we do to hit the targets we set, even if we don't realize we're setting them.
Hold on, so if I'm constantly telling myself I'm not good enough or whatever, my brain's actually going to make that happen.
That's what Maltz argues, yep. It's like we're living out these self-fulfilling prophecies based on this internal image. But here's the cool part. It works both ways. A positive self-image, that same mechanism, it becomes a total powerhouse for getting what we want.
Okay, that makes sense, but how do we actually, reprogram ourselves? What are the steps?
Maltz points to imagination as a key ingredient. He talks about Alekhine, this chess champion. The guy visualized beating Capablanca even though everyone thought he was a goner. Rehearsed that win over and over, and bam, it happened.
Whoa, but is it that simple? Just imagining stuff? Is there, more to it?
It's not just wishing. It's about really picturing your desired outcome, making it vivid. Then your thoughts, feelings, actions, they got to align with that vision. There was even this study. Mental patients improved just by imagining they were healthy.
So it's like the power of belief mixed with mental pictures actually shaping our reality? That's heavy. But I bet it goes both ways, right? Good beliefs help, bad ones hold you back.
100%. Maltz's negative beliefs, especially the ones we pick up in childhood, they act like hypnotic suggestions. He uses this example. Dr. Alfred Adler was told he was dumb at math, believed it until one day, boom, insight shifted. Guess what? His math skills actually got better.
Wow, that's wild. But if those bad beliefs are so deep, how do we actually break free?
It's not about becoming a new person. It's about realizing those beliefs aren't always true. You can challenge them, replace them with positive ones.
So we got to be proactive, not just letting our past or other people define us.
Yeah, it takes effort, but it's worth it. And it's not all about forcing positive thoughts. Maltz also says relaxation is huge.
Relaxation? Really? I always thought achieving goals meant hustling nonstop.
Not about being lazy. It's about letting go of overthinking. Trusting your subconscious to do its thing. Constant stress, trying to control everything, that actually blocks creativity.
So how do we relax while still going for our goals? Just take breaks.
Maltz uses this phrase shadowboxing, which I think is really smart. Like practicing a skill, but relaxed, no pressure, so you build that mental blueprint for success. Then when the real deal comes, you can act without overthinking.
I like that, yeah. We all know practice is key, but I never thought about applying it to, our mental state.
Exactly. Here's this example. Young salesman learned to handle objections by practicing fake sales calls in his head, visualizing himself responding, smooth and confident. Then he practiced not selling in real calls to get comfortable.
That's kind of backwards, but I see how low-pressure practice helps. It's like building mental muscle memory.
Yeah. And building good habits in general. Maltz says happiness itself, it's a skill to develop.
Wait, a skill? I thought happiness just kind of, comes and goes depending on what's happening.
Girl, we can't control everything that happens, but we can control how we react. Maltz suggests choosing to focus on the good stuff and tackling challenges with a positive, goal-oriented mindset. There's even research linking happiness to better health, better relationships, less crime, all that.
Wow, that's amazing. But it's hard to stay positive when things are tough. Any tips for building that happiness habit?
Maltz calls it healthy-mindedness. Basically, look for the good in every situation. Focus on solutions, not just problems. It takes practice, like any skill.
So training yourself to see the glass half full even when it feels empty.
Exactly. And as you practice, it gets easier. Just like brushing your teeth or working out, it becomes a habit.
I see how that shift could change everything. It's about focusing on what we can control instead of letting circumstances dictate our mood.
Exactly. It's taking ownership of your happiness, not waiting for something else to make you happy. And when you cultivate that inner joy, it radiates outwards, changes how you interact with the world.
That's beautiful. So we've covered self-image, this success mechanism, imagination, relaxation, happiness. It's a lot, but it's also really empowering.
It is. And it gets even more practical when we look at the traits Maltz says make up what he calls a success-type personality.
Okay, now I'm really interested. What are these traits, and how do we develop them?
He lists 7. We could go deep on each, but since you're all about learning and growth, let's focus on a few that might resonate with you the most.
Perfect. I'm ready to take notes.
Great. First up, sense of direction.
Okay, sense of direction. Makes sense. Got to know where you're going to get there.
It ties back to feeding those positive goals into your success mechanism. It's about having clear goals and a plan. Otherwise, your internal GPS is set to nowhere.
So be intentional, not just drifting through life. I can see how that purpose would be motivating.
Absolutely. And that links to the next one, courage.
Courage. All right, tell me more.
This is about being willing to take risks, calculated ones, and pushing through setbacks, going beyond your comfort zone. It's trusting in your abilities and resilience.
Courage isn't easy for everyone, though. I've definitely struggled with fear and self-doubt.
Everyone feels fear. It's human. It's what you do with that fear that matters, whether it stops you or pushes you forward.
So it's about managing fear, not letting it control us.
Yep. The more you face your fears and act despite them, the more courage you build. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Okay, so sense of direction and courage. What's the third trait that might be good for me?
Understanding.
Understanding. Tell me more.
Maltz says we often develop bad traits because we're trying to solve problems the wrong way. It's about recognizing that those negative patterns are coming from fear or insecurity. Understand where they come from, then you can start to overcome them.
So becoming aware of those patterns and digging into the why behind them.
Exactly. Those patterns are often learned responses to stuff that happened in the past or threats we thought were real. When you understand that, you can challenge the patterns, replace them with something better.
Wow, this is connecting for me. Sense of direction gives you purpose, courage lets you act, and understanding helps break free from the bad stuff holding you back.
You got it. And speaking of patterns, Maltz also talks about how hurts from the past, they can leave these emotional scars, and they stick with us.
Yeah, we carry those wounds, sometimes without even realizing they're affecting us. What's Maltz's advice on healing them?
He says one key is to be too big to feel threatened.
Too big to feel threatened. I like the sound of that. What does that actually mean?
It's about building self-esteem, so you're less vulnerable to criticism or feeling heard. Not being arrogant, but knowing your worth so you don't constantly need approval from others.
I see. When you feel secure in yourself, other people's opinions don't shake you as much. Your value comes from within.
Right. Another key is not being overly dependent on others.
So self-reliance.
Yes, but not becoming emotionally attached. It's about a healthy balance, focusing on giving love as well as receiving it.
So you can take care of yourself, but you're still open to connection and support from others.
Exactly. And finally, he emphasizes forgiveness. Forgiving completely.
Forgiveness is powerful, but it's tough, especially when someone really hurt you.
No doubt. But Maltz says holding on to resentment, refusing to forgive, it only hurts you more in the long run. Let go of that negative energy so you can move forward.
So it's more about freeing yourself, not about the other person, releasing the past to build a better future.
Exactly. That freedom allows you to unlock your real personality. Maltz believes we all have this real self, and it's naturally attractive, magnetic.
That's a cool idea. But if we all have this amazing self, why don't we see it more often? What's blocking it?
Our bad habits, emotional baggage, it's all in the way. Like you're this awesome diamond, but over time it gets covered in dirt, so you can't see how bright it really is.
I like that. So it's not about becoming someone new, it's about uncovering who you already are.
Exactly. And when you unlock that real personality, you're better equipped to turn a crisis into a creative opportunity.
Wait, turning a crisis into something good, how is that even possible? Crises usually make me freeze up.
It's about shifting your perspective. Maltz explains that crises, those high-pressure moments, they can either crush you or bring out your best. He gives examples of athletes who actually perform better under pressure because they train themselves to see challenges as chances to shine.
Makes sense. I've seen that with athletes. It's like switching from I can't to I'm gonna rock this.
You got it. See challenges as chances to grow. And one way to prepare for those challenges is what Maltz calls shadow boxing for stability.
Hold on, shadow boxing, isn't that like a boxing thing?
It is, but Maltz says you can use the principle for anything. Public speaking, tough conversations, even daily stress. You practice your skills in a safe space so you're ready for the real thing.
Like a rehearsal for a play. You practice so you don't mess up on stage.
That's it. He uses this example, gentleman Jim Corbett, the boxer. Practiced his left jab in front of a mirror thousands of times. Then, bam, perfect execution of the championship fight.
Wow, preparation is key. But we can use shadow boxing for mental stuff too, right? Not just physical skills.
Yeah, absolutely. He talks about dry shooting, practicing without any real risk. It could be a sales pitch to your mirror, a presentation to an empty room, even just playing out tough conversations in your head.
Smart. You can try things out, mess up, get better, all without fear of judgment.
Exactly. And that builds confidence so you can be more natural when it counts. It's like leveling up your mental game.
This is great stuff. I'm seeing how we can use these ideas for so many different challenges.
That's the cool part about Maltz's work. It's a framework for pretty much any area of life. When you embrace it, you get more resilient, resourceful, ready to create the life you want.
I love that. It's about taking control, not just waiting for things to happen.
You got it. It's about realizing you have the power to choose your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. And those choices, they shape everything.
This has been an awesome start to our deep dive. I'm already feeling inspired.
I'm glad. And there's so much more to uncover. We can go into Maltz's tips for overcoming specific fears, building good habits, finding deeper happiness, all that good stuff.
I'm ready for it. Let's keep going.
It is a journey, and like any good one, there's going to be bumps along the way. One of the coolest things Maltz talks about is this real self. He says it's inherently good, creative, all that.
I like that, the real self. It reminds me of that quote, be yourself, everyone else is taken. But if it's always there, why is it so hard to, connect with sometimes?
It gets buried, under all these negative beliefs, fears, insecurities we pick up. Think of it like you're this amazing diamond, but over time it gets covered in dirt, so you can't see how much it shines.
Oh, I like that. So it's not becoming someone new. It's more like dusting off the awesome person who's already there.
Exactly. And Maltz says one way to start uncovering that is to pay attention to your reactions, especially when things get tough. He talks about negative feedback, which sounds kind of harsh, but...
Wait, negative feedback, isn't that a bad thing? I thought we're supposed to focus on the positive.
It's not about someone criticizing you. It's more like using information to make adjustments. Think of your GPS, right? If you're going the wrong way, it tells you so you can course correct.
Oh, okay. So negative feedback is like a signal that something needs to change.
Yep. Could come from inside, like your own thoughts and feelings, or from outside, like what other people tell you.
So be aware of how we're feeling, what we're thinking, and be open to feedback from others. But what if you get, too sensitive to it? Won't that make you overthink everything?
Good point. Maltz actually warns about that. Being too sensitive to negative feedback, you can overcorrect, and then you get all inhibited, even paralyzed.
Makes sense. It's like finding that balance, being aware but not letting feedback control you.
Exactly. He gives this example of how we use negative feedback when we're talking.
Okay, I'm listening. This sounds interesting.
As we speak, we're listening to ourselves, making tiny adjustments to our tone, how loud we are, the pace, all based on the feedback we're getting through our ears. But if we get too self-conscious, then we stutter, we trip over our words.
Oh, for sure. I've done that, especially when I'm nervous about public speaking. I overthink every word and sound totally robotic.
Yeah, it's like you're messing with a natural flow. But when you trust yourself, you can relax and just let the words come out.
So it's that balance, again, being mindful but also trusting your ability to communicate.
Right. And that trust is key for unlocking your real personality. When you're confident, you take more risks, share your ideas, connect with people authentically.
Totally. But sometimes, even when you want to be real, your own inner critic gets in the way. That voice that says you're not good enough.
Maltz talks about that too. He says that inner critic is often what he calls a false conscience.
False conscience? That's a new one. What's that about?
It's not your true conscience, the one that tells you right from wrong. It's more like a bunch of limiting beliefs you've picked up over time.
Like all those shoulds and shouldn'ts that tell you how you're supposed to be.
Exactly. And those false beliefs can hold you back big time. They make you afraid to express yourself, go for your dreams, even just be yourself.
Wow, that's deep. But how do you even identify those beliefs? They feel so, ingrained.
Maltz says, start by noticing your thoughts. What's that inner critic saying? What messages are you playing on repeat in your head?
Mine usually says I'm not good enough, gonna fail, people won't like me. Not very uplifting stuff.
It's common. But the key is realizing those thoughts aren't facts. They're just beliefs, probably from your past experiences or what people told you.
So question them. Ask yourself, is this true, or did someone just put this idea in my head?
That's it. And as you start taking those false beliefs apart, you make space for your real self to show up.
This is really eye-opening. I'm seeing how those beliefs can really mess with your potential. But what about the subconscious mind? It seems like Maltz is all about tapping into that.
He is. He believes it's crucial for shaping our experiences. He uses this analogy, like an electronic brain. You input the data, set the goals, but it's the machine that does the calculations and spits out the results.
So we're the programmers. Our subconscious is the computer running the program.
Exactly. We don't have to micromanage every little thing. Trust your inner guidance system.
That's a cool way to think about it. But what about taking action? I mean, positive thoughts are great, but you got to do something too, right?
Absolutely. It's finding that balance, effort, and surrender, action, and allowing. You take action towards your goals, but you also trust that things will work out, even in ways you can't predict.
So not just sitting around waiting, but also not forcing things or trying to control everything.
You got it. It's that sweet spot where you're putting in the work, but also open to possibilities, letting things unfold.
This is making me rethink how I go after my goals. I'm very action-oriented, but maybe I need to chill out a bit, trust the process more.
It's about finding what works for you. But I think Maltz's point about the subconscious is important. We don't have to do everything with willpower alone.
Yeah.
There's a deeper intelligence we can tap into.
That takes some of the pressure off, for sure.
Exactly. And speaking of pressure, let's talk about how Maltz uses these ideas for specific challenges, like dealing with fear and anxiety.
Oh, yeah, I'm interested in that. Everyone deals with that stuff to some degree. What's his take on it?
He says a lot of our anxiety comes from what he calls inappropriate responses to stuff in our environment.
So it's not the stuff itself that's the problem, but how we react to it.
Exactly. He uses this example, the phone ringing. The sound is neutral, but we've been trained to freak out, answer it, get caught up in conversations we didn't even want.
So true. I feel obligated to answer even when I'm busy or just not in the mood.
But Maltz says, we don't have to answer. We can let it ring.
I like that. It's about realizing we have a choice in how we respond to things. Simple, but powerful.
It is. That choice gives you power, control. You're not just a victim of your circumstances. You can choose how you respond.
That's empowering, but what about situations where you don't have a choice, like if you're in actual danger?
Maltz acknowledges those situations, of course, where you got to react fast. But he says a lot of our fears are based on what we think might happen, not actual danger.
So knowing the difference between real threats and stuff we just make up in our heads?
Right. Our brains are wired to avoid danger. But sometimes that wiring gets messed up and we worry about things that probably won't even happen.
Makes sense. So how do you rewire your brain to react better to stress?
Maltz has a bunch of techniques. Conscious thought control, rational thinking, and the power of imagination.
Okay, those sound interesting. Tell me more.
So conscious thought control is about catching your thoughts and choosing to focus on the good stuff. Positive, empowering, supportive thoughts. You're in charge, not your thoughts.
Like being the boss of your own mind.
Exactly. Create that positive mental space. Then there's rational thinking, using logic to challenge your fears. Ask yourself, is this fear based on facts or just a story I'm making up?
So look at your fears objectively, see if there's any real evidence for them.
Yep. Take a more scientific approach to your emotions. Your feelings aren't always telling the truth. And then there's imagination. Maltz says we can use it to create new, positive experiences.
So visualizing yourself handling things calmly, confidently.
Yeah. Like a mental rehearsal. Practice those scenarios in your mind, and you'll be more likely to nail it in real life.
I like that. Mental prep work. But what if you're already stressed out in the moment? How do you calm down?
Maltz has some relaxation techniques. One is deep breathing. When we're stressed, we tend to breathe all shallow and fast, which actually makes it worse.
Oh, yeah, I do that. When I'm stressed, I catch myself holding my breath or taking tiny sips of air.
It's instinctive, but it backfires. By slowing down, taking those big, deep breaths, you can calm your whole system down.
Simple, but effective. Any other relaxation tips you like?
Maltz talks about visualization again, not just for success, but for relaxation too. Imagine a place and activity that makes you feel peaceful.
Oh, like a mental vacation.
Exactly. Transport yourself to that calm space, even if everything around you is crazy.
This is giving me so many tools to deal with stress. I'm feeling more prepared already.
That's great. And remember, it's not about getting rid of stress completely. It's about managing it, using it to grow.
Yeah, seeing it as a challenge, not a threat.
Exactly. And speaking of challenges, Maltz also talks about clearing your, what he calls mental machinery, so you don't carry over negativity from one thing to the next.
I do that for sure. Dwelling on mistakes, worrying about the future, it's draining.
Yeah, it's a trap. But he says you can create boundaries between different parts of your life. Don't bring work stress home. Don't let relationship stuff mess with your work.
So, like, compartmentalizing, focusing on what's in front of you.
Right. Be present in each moment, not stuck in the past or future.
Makes sense. It's easy to get lost in thoughts and miss what's happening now, but being present, that's where the real joy is, right?
You got it. And that leads to one of Maltz's coolest ideas, turning a crisis into a creative opportunity.
Wait, a crisis into something good. Usually a crisis makes me feel like giving up.
It's not about pretending the crisis isn't hard. It's about realizing that these tough situations, they can either break you or make you stronger.
Yeah.
He talks about those athletes, right?
Yeah.
They do their best when the pressure is on because they see challenges as a chance to shine.
Yeah, it's that mindset shift from fear to focus, from I can't to I'm going to rise to this.
Exactly. Challenges become opportunities for growth. And one way to prep for those challenges is, he calls it shadow boxing, for stability.
Okay, now I'm really curious. Shadow boxing for life challenges.
It's a training technique, but he says we can use it for anything. Public speaking, tough conversations, stress. You practice your skills in a safe space so you're ready when the pressure's on.
Like rehearsing for a play so you don't freeze up on stage?
That's it. He gives the example of gentleman Jim Corbett, the boxer. Practiced his left jab thousands of times before the big fight, and bam, perfect execution when it mattered most.
Wow, practice makes perfect, even mentally. But we can use shadow boxing for mental and emotional stuff too, right?
Absolutely. He calls it dry shooting, practicing without any real risk. Could be a sales pitch to your mirror, a presentation to an empty room, even just playing out tough conversations in your head.
Smart. You can experiment, mess up, get better, all without fear of judgment.
Exactly. And that builds confidence, so you can be more natural when it counts. It's like leveling up your mental game.
This is great stuff. I'm seeing how we can use these ideas for so many different challenges.
That's the cool part about Maltz's work. It's a framework for pretty much any area of life. When you embrace it, you get more resilient, resourceful, ready to create the life you want.
And I love that. It's about taking control, not just waiting for things to happen.
You got it. It's about realizing you have the power to choose your thoughts, your beliefs, your actions. And those choices, they shape everything.
This has been an awesome continuation of our deep dive. I'm already feeling inspired.
I'm glad. And there's so much more to uncover. We can go into Maltz's tips for overcoming specific fears, building good habits, finding deeper happiness, all that good stuff.
I'm ready for it. Let's keep going. I'm ready for more. What else has Maltz got for us?
Well, let's talk about this winning feeling he talks about. Maltz says we can actually, cultivate that feeling of confidence, of success, even before we actually achieve something.
Wait, so you're saying you can create the feeling even before the win? I always thought it came after.
Right, that's what most people think. But he gives all these examples of successful people who use mental imagery to basically feel the success before it happened. Like they were programming their minds to win.
That's crazy, like tricking your brain into thinking you've already won. But how does that even work?
It's about tapping into the subconscious mind, that deeper level. Maltz talks about Kerry Middlecoff, this golfer. He visualized his shots, really seeing that ball going exactly where he wanted it.
Oh, wow. So he wasn't just swinging. He was creating the whole experience in his mind first.
Exactly. And there's John Manger, this football player. He had an amazing game after waking up feeling like it was going to be a good day. Almost like he'd already won in his mind.
It's like our minds can't tell the difference between something we imagine really strongly and something that's actually happening.
That's the power of it. Maltz says, practice this. Picture yourself achieving your goal. Feel those emotions, the joy, the excitement, all of it.
So you're not just seeing it, you're feeling it like it's real.
Exactly. And Maltz says when you do this, you're actually creating pathways in your brain, making that success more likely to happen. You're training your mind to expect to win.
Okay, that makes sense. But I'm guessing it's not just about visualizing, right? We still have to, actually do the work.
Of course, it's not magic. It's about setting the stage mentally and emotionally so you're ready to take action and deal with challenges. Practice is still key.
So it's finding that balance, inner work, outer work.
Exactly. And Maltz says, approach that practice with a sense of fun, curiosity, not fear. See mistakes as learning opportunities, not failures. That's how you turn challenges into growth.
Right. Mistakes are how we learn. Now, I'm curious, does Maltz talk about aging? Like, how does Psycho-Cybernetics view getting older?
He does, and it's a really interesting perspective. He kind of flips the script on how we usually think about aging, saying we might have more control over it than we think.
Really? I always figured it was just, inevitable, something you can't stop.
That's the common view. But Maltz says a lot of the negative stuff we associate with aging, it's not automatic. It's more about our beliefs, our attitudes, our lifestyle.
So you're saying we can actually influence how we age?
To a degree, yeah. He quotes this guy, Dr. Alexis Carrel, who said, "The cell is immortal. It's the fluid around it that breaks down." Meaning, it's not the cells themselves getting old, it's the environment they're in.
That's mind-blowing. So, like, if we create a healthier environment, mentally and physically, our cells stay younger.
That's the idea. Maltz talks about having a sense of purpose, having things to look forward to. When you do, you stay active, engaged, and that keeps you feeling young.
Makes sense. If you don't have a reason to get out of bed, you just kind of, stagnate. But if
Yeah.
you're passionate about stuff, that keeps you going.
Exactly. And he talks about mental and physical activity. Just like your body needs exercise, your mind needs stimulation to stay sharp. Keep learning, pursue your interests, challenge yourself.
I love that. Never too late to learn new tricks. But what about, like, the social side of aging?
Maltz says relationships, community, those are huge for well-being at any age. Staying close to loved ones, making new friends, doing stuff with others, it all contributes to happiness and longevity.
Yeah, it's easy to get isolated as you get older, especially if you're retired or you've lost people close to you. But staying connected, it keeps you feeling alive.
It's not just about socializing, it's about belonging, feeling like you matter, like you've got something to offer the world.
That's beautiful. So Maltz is saying aging isn't just something that happens to you. You can take an active role, make choices that support a good experience.
Exactly. And he goes deeper into psychosomatic medicine, the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
He's saying your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, they all impact your physical health.
Oh, for sure. I know when I'm stressed, I get sick more easily. But when I'm happy, relaxed, I have way more energy.
Perfect example. He talks about how stress, anxiety, all that negativity, it weakens your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
But positive thinking, relaxation, inner peace, all that good stuff, it actually boosts your immunity.
So it's not just taking care of your body, it's taking care of your mind and emotions too.
Exactly. It's all connected. You got to see yourself as a whole being.
Makes sense. So what are some things we can do to boost both physical and mental health?
Maltz says eat healthy, sleep enough, exercise, do stuff that brings you joy, and manage that stress. He has this concept, adaptation energy, which is basically the energy you use to deal with stress and adapt to challenges.
So if you're stressed all the time, you burn through that energy and then you're more likely to get sick or just feel exhausted.
Right. That's why it's key to find healthy ways to de-stress. Relaxation techniques, nature, hobbies you love, all that.
I like that, finding what helps you recharge.
And when you're feeling overwhelmed, Maltz suggests creating what he calls a quiet center inside yourself, a safe space where you can go to find peace, to reset.
Oh, like a mental sanctuary.
Exactly. And he talks about non-specific therapy too, things that help you heal and feel better, but they're not focused on any specific illness.
Interesting. What kind of things are we talking about?
Things like meditation, yoga, being out in nature, creative stuff, anything that brings you joy and feels good for your soul.
That's cool. It's about taking a holistic approach, recognizing that there are lots of ways to feel better.
It is. Listen to your body, respect your limits, give yourself permission to rest when you need it.
That's so important, especially these days when everyone's so busy. But taking care of yourself, that's the foundation for everything.
It is. And that brings us to one of Maltz's most profound ideas, how to live a life with more meaning, more fulfillment.
Okay, now we're talking. I think that's something we all search for, that deep sense of purpose.
Maltz says real happiness, it doesn't come from achievements or stuff you buy. It comes from inside. It's about cultivating peace, joy, contentment, that feeling good regardless of what's happening around you.
So it's not about what you have, it's about how you feel.
Yeah. He says when you chase after validation from others, you're giving your power away. You become dependent on them to make you happy, and that never works.
Oh, I've been there, thinking if I just get this promotion or this much money, then I'll be happy. But real happiness, it's got to come from somewhere else.
Exactly. Maltz says cultivate self-love, self-acceptance, knowing you're worthy just as you are. Not because of what you do, but because you are.
That's a powerful idea, finding your own worth, not needing someone else to give it to you.
And when you truly love yourself, it's easier to love others. Maltz also talks about living in alignment with your values, your purpose. When you do that, everything flows. It feels easy, fulfilling.
Oh, yeah. When you're doing work you love or spending time on stuff that lights you up, it doesn't feel like work at all. It's like you're tapped into some kind of energy source.
That's it. And when you're living that way, true to yourself, you attract abundance, success, happiness, all that good stuff.
So it's not about chasing happiness. It's about creating a life that reflects who you are, and then happiness kind of follows naturally.
Exactly. And he gives tips for finding that alignment. Figure out your passions, explore what interests you, do stuff that brings you joy and feels meaningful.
It's like creating a life that feels good on a soul level, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's not always easy, especially in a world that's always telling you who to be, what to do.
It's true. It takes courage to go your own way. So to wrap things up, what does Psycho-Cybernetics tell us? What's the big takeaway?
I think it shows us that we have way more power to shape our lives than we realize. We can change our self-image, we can use our minds to achieve our goals, we can even influence how we experience aging.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I've learned so much, and I feel super inspired.
Me too. It's amazing how relevant Maltz's ideas still are, even though the book is decades old.
And that's it for our deep dive into Psycho-Cybernetics. We hope you enjoyed it, and most importantly, we hope it sparks some new ideas about how you can create a life that you truly love.